Hey up everybody, welcome back. Right, well, things have been a little strange here as far as the weather goes and stuff. Cold again, snowy again for some reason. And I ran out of gas on Sunday afternoon, just as I'd finished last week's video. So I haven't been in the workshop for a couple of days until the propane truck came and filled it up. So there we go on that. So I'm back. And you'll be wondering why I've brought this out of retirement. Well, I was reading the comments from last week and there was one short comment. Oh God, I've forgotten the guy's name. I actually wrote it down on my little notepad and I've left it at the house. Never mind. He said, will the Sump still go on with the oil pickup? And I thought, oil pickup? What oil pickup? So I looked at the video that I made when I took it apart, and of course the oil pump and everything goes on the bottom of the engine as well. So I think the answer to the question is yes, because actually without that wooden box that it's standing on, there's masses of room underneath. But of course I've got to take the bottom of the engine out and put the oil pump back on, and I'll make sure there's nothing else there. I was also asked about what was it, reassembly oil or whatever. Don't worry, those of you who've watched me building motors before, everything gets oiled before the engine's put together. And one of the things I always do is I never start an engine until I know the oil's circulating. It's easy with the beta singles and stuff. I just kick them over until I see oil coming through the rocker feed, because that's just a scavenge, and generally if it's up there it's everywhere else and fully circling around. So don't worry about that, it's not being assembled dry. Although here's a little anecdote. I have a friend who had a Montesa 348 trials bike, and he ran that for an entire year, for season and so on, and then it seemed as if the gear change was getting a bit stiff, so he and my friend Mike, who runs a trials bike shop, took it in to have a look, and when they pulled the drain plug out, there wasn't a drop of oil in it. One bush, I think, had started to go, so they replaced one bronze bush and it was fine. So there you go, surprising, isn't it? Okay, so obviously we've got to take the bottom out of the frame so we can pop those bits on. What else did, oh hang on, there was three things. Oh yeah, and somebody else mentioned, and again, I apologise when I say somebody else, but I really am hopeless with names, asked me whether there was a torque setting for that bearing cap, and I'll be honest with you, I've never thought about it. So I looked it up and there is. So when we've got it out, we'll torque it up. But I have one more thing to show you before we take the motor out. Oh, and for the chap again who mentioned about putting stuff together, you know, there's all the bits for the engine all separated out, and here of course is the little box with the oil pump and everything on it. How did I miss that? Okay, let's go over to the bike. Now I had another thought, and I came out in the cold the other day just to check this out. You remember this piece going there? I said I thought it was kickstart. It does have the kickstart engagement mechanism, but actually it's the drive for the middle gearbox, the one that had the shaft drive part in the gearbox that I modified to take a chain drive. That sits in there like that. And of course, with that in there, I can't get the top of the engine on. I can't get it up there. So, a little bit of cursing. And then I thought, oh, didn't we fall lucky? You remember that this plate here has got a through bolt at the bottom and a through bolt here. And I was going to weld it all in and decided against it. Am I glad I didn't weld it? Because I can take this bolt out, and then with the back wheel not touching the floor, I can actually pull this entire thing backwards. If need be, I can take both bolts out, and then it'll come right out the way, and none of this will be here. Then that'll go in, and actually I can get at these top bolts easier. So that turned out very fortuitous for me. Other thing, I alluded to it before, a couple of comments from somebody that were, one could say, disparaging of my abilities, but basically the man was arrogant and ill-mannered. But anyway, one of the things he said was, this frame's crap because you can't have half isolastic and half rigid mount. Well, it's all rigid mount. The isolastic bushes in here I took out and replaced with solid steel ones. But there was a little gap, an unsightly gap. So the rubber boots that go on the isolastic part nicely filled the gap, which is what they're for. So I put them back on. So if anybody else had thought I'd left the isolastic bushes in there, they aren't. That's just there to make it look nice. It's actually all solid, so don't worry about it. So okay, let's take the bottom out, put the oil pump on, check we haven't missed anything else, and then I'll move this out the way and we'll see about getting all these top parts in. Now I think we're right this time. Okay, got our 2 dowels in there. Here's the pump, and I've primed the pump. It says that it needs priming. So I've filled it up with oil and turned the pump until the oil comes out the other way. Right, where are we? Put it round the right way. That goes on that dowel, that goes on that dowel. Oh, let's see. Wait for a minute there, that one goes in there. And that one goes in there. That's it, it might be the other way around. Yeah, one's fractionally longer than the other one. Okie doke. Oh, by the way, I slackened and re-torqued, or torqued for the first time, that end cap. These Japanese engines are very technical, aren't they? Okay, then this bit goes on. Well, let's get this the right way around as well. There we go. There's 2 going there like that. And then the final thing is the screen goes on, and there are 3 little screws for that. So let me finish tightening that up, and then I'll put this back in the frame. Now the question was, will the sump go back on once we have the oil pump on? For a moment I thought no, it just catches, but I'll lift that up like that. What is going on here? I just put it on to check. There we go. So yes, that goes on. So we can put that back on. Might have to put it on before we move that rear mounting back, but it does go. I say, it just doesn't quite come off with it there, but it will lift up and out it comes. So that's not a problem. So let me put it back in its box and move this mounting backwards. Now I've taken that bolt out of there, swung that back out the way, put that in, and there we go. So that'll all go back on. Excellent. So I've got to put the other gearbox shaft in, and as I say, there's another fork shaft because there's one more sliding pinion on that main shaft that goes on there. So let's get that in, and then we can put these bearing shells in, drop the crank in, put the top on. As I say, I think what I'll do then is put the sump on the bottom, then we'll pull this back forward and we're moving to the barrels. Well, it appears Japanese bikes suffer from the same problems as British bikes do when it comes to parts suppliers. I'm just getting everything ready to put the stuff in here, and there's an O-ring goes in there. So I've bought a complete gasket and O-ring set. Note the word complete. So there's the O-ring. They're too big. Look around. Is that one smaller? No, they're all too big. There isn't an O-ring that fits that. And because that's an oil weight, it even mentions it in the book in sort of block capitals. Don't forget this O-ring. So of course, I don't carry metric O-rings. So that's the right thickness, but again, it's too big. So what do you do in this situation? You get that. You cut a little bit out so that you make it exactly right. Then you get some super glue and you glue the two ends together and you make a new O-ring. So I'm going to glue those two ends together and that will push in. You actually could probably get away without gluing the ends, because once it's in, you know, you put it in with a bit of grease to hold it, because it gets squished down and it'll be fine. But we're going to super glue the ends and make a new O-ring. Now, as you saw in the introduction, I keep things in separate little boxes when I take them out. But what I think happens is when I lock up on a night and switch the lights out, pieces climb out of one box and get into another box. And they do it to annoy me. Anyway, this bit goes in. First little worry was these clips that hold the things in. I didn't have one for there. So I searched around, and then I looked at the underside of the top, and there isn't one in there. There's one in the bottom, and I suppose they assume that locks it in. So that was all right. So the next thing is this bit goes in. This has actually got a big circlip that acts as the lock there. That goes in there, and that end goes in there. So that's like that. Now the next thing is, as I mentioned, there's another rod and another shifter. And when I got this out of the box, the little plunger wasn't there. It was in a bag in another box. Okay, so that goes, where does that go? In that slot and into there. And then this goes in there. Come on. Through there, all the way through there. Then we have two E-clips. One goes on there. I find Alan, I noticed when I was editing the other bit of this video, or was it last week's, I said Alan Wrench. Wrench! Can you believe it? I know I've been here a while, but... Oh, there it goes. Allen key. So there's one. You come round to your side to put in this other one. Goes in right in there. The reason I say these are handy is because they're relatively thin, but they do have a nice flat end, unlike a screwdriver, which tends to slip off. And that's in there. Very good. So that's that and that and that. So that's the gearbox done. Clutch goes on this end. Can't do the clutch. Well, I'll do the clutch when the top's on, but anyway, I still haven't got that 5mm thing for there. Even though, what's his name, is sitting with one in his hand. Alright, so let me get the shells. So here I have all of the shells. And you'll notice I put a little bit of tape on. And the tape says base, so I know it goes in the bottom here, not the top half. And it says left and a little arrow pointing to the front. So each of them are like that. And then that one says left inner with an arrow on. Right inner. Right. So I'll take the tape off. Make sure they're nice and clean. Make sure everything's clean with these. And then they go in. As it happened, I couldn't put them in the wrong way around, because of course they always have a little locating part. So that goes in like that, and the little holes line up in the bottom. So let me put the rest in. Next we'll drop the crank in. So oil these shells. Seems we're going to be putting the top on here shortly. A lot of this is just going to fall out the bottom, but I never overly worry about gearboxes, because the splash feed, the splash lubrication, you know, once that gearbox is turned a few times, shafts have, the oil's everywhere. Alright. There we go. And just out of interest, I just weighed the crank. Just the crank alone weighs 28 pounds. So that's why I didn't want this in and all this gearbox stuff in and then try to put the engine in. Okay, so that's got that in. Now we need the top. Now I've sorted out all the mounting bolts. It took forever to clean all these up. And I came across two little plates on some of the, stuck on a couple of the bolts. And I thought, don't remember them. Wonder where they go. Now fortunately, I looked on YouTube and there was a chap on there who dismantled one of these XS 750 engines. Really nice fella, personable, intelligent, witty, good looking. So I watched his couple of videos and I spotted where these went. So we're alright there. Now let me show you something about these cases. As you can tell from the finish on these cases, they're die cast, not sand cast like the British bikes were. But the dies they make are so nice. Look at this. They actually cast in the bolt number. So the sequence for these bolts, there's an 18, there's a 17, is actually cast into the cases so you know which order to fasten them in. Is that clever or what? Now I've put some gasket cement on this joint, the non-hardening type that I like to use. And the dowels are in the top half of the case. So let's see if we can get this on. Fingers crossed that I was going to wedge these, but there's virtually no space to wedge them. the bugger's falling in there. There we go. So what I'm going to do is tighten up these top bolts, just sort of take them up, and then I'll move this back forward and put the bolt through, because I've got to be able to move the box from underneath to get the bottom bolts in to come up through this. So let me get these tightened up and move the box. So as I mentioned, all these bolts are numbered. There's 24 altogether, and they're supposed to be tightened. Well, you should tighten them in the right sequence. Now the bolts that actually hold the caps for the shells for the main bearings, there are several different sizes. There's 8 altogether, of course. 4 of them are all the same size, and they just go in. 2 of them, as we know, are inside the sump, and 2 of them are inside the oil filter casing. The other 4, 2 on each side, are different lengths, and also because they're not within the sort of oil bearing part of the engine, they go on with copper washers. So I have annealed the copper washers. So let me put these bolts in, and then we'll start the tightening sequence. Now then, to help me get these bolts up here, I used a mirror, and then I could look up in there and see the bolt holes and just put them in nice and easily. Nice big mirror is really handy. I mean, those ones on the end of stalks are good, but a big one is great. So now I've got them all in, and we start off. These are the first 8 bolts, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we move along the front, then we go to the back. So let me start here with our torque wrench. Tighten these up in a 2 sequence. So this one is going to, what is it? Let's have a look. That's Newtons. I did write it down, but so the big ones go to 14 the first time and 27 the second time, and then they go on the 8mm ones go 10 and 14. There we go, 14. Now the next one is up inside there. So I'll go around these anyway. I won't have you watching me do this. As I say, do the first of all at 14 and 10, and then come back round and go 27 and 14. And when they're all done, we'll put the sump, come on, and the oil filter on. So let me turn you off. Now I'm going to put the sump on. So as you remember, I had to raise the engine a little bit just to get it in. So what I've done is I put a little bit of rubber tube on there so I wouldn't damage the paint, levered it up slightly, and then I popped the bolt in here to hold it up. So now let me go around the other side. Got a new gasket on, got it all greased up. So what I'm going to do is just put 3 or 4 bolts in. Well, they're actually Allen screws, so Allen bolts. You know, again, I just put this damn thing in and took it back out to make sure. There it goes. And that wants to go round like that. Once we've got one in, we're laughing. As I say, I might have a little bit of a problem with a couple of them round this side, because the sump is actually offset to one side, and it's just on top of the tube at this side here. There's two of them in. Now they're actually indents. Oh, will you look at that? There's one. I can get this one in this front corner, which of course you can't. I'm going to bring you round so you can see this. Right now, you see how close the sump is on this side? Well, I don't know if you can make them out. The bolts are actually in little recesses. So I've got one in there. Way! Now there's a couple at the back that might prove difficult. That one will go in, that one will go in. So there's just these couple at the back here where the be able to get them in. Okay, so I've got to go around here, put all these bolts in, then we'll see about putting the oil filter on the front. Now, as I thought, there was three here. Actually, I could get them all in but one. Couldn't quite get at them with an Allen key. I'd have had to cut one down. But this one right over on the left hand side here, I just couldn't get in. But I took the rear mounting bolt out, put the front ones in, took the rear one out, jacked it up, and now I can get at them. So that's because the jack's just in the way. Come on, get in there. Every time I have to do this, I think to myself, well, I should get some of those Allen keys with the ball end. And then I forget. And then another job comes up when I need them. You know, that's just in the way. Okay. Tell you what, let's oh, hang on. That'll do, hang on. We'll stick a bit of wood in. Every workshop needs lots of bits of wood. Right. Now we'll get that out of the way. Tighten that one up. And that one, I think. Yep. And the very last one was this one that wouldn't go in. Still just... Actually, I think what's causing this is, again, the gasket wasn't absolutely perfect. Got all the other holes lined up, but there it goes. Hooray! Alright, let me drop. Oh, actually, it's good that I had to take that rear engine mounting bolt out because there is, where's it gone? A spacing piece to go in there. So I'll put that spacer piece in, tighten these up, and then we'll do the oil filter. Well, I haven't put the new oil filter and that in because the complete gasket set doesn't come with an O-ring for the oil filter casing either. Waste of money that was. So anyway, I've bolted the engine in, front, back, put the little spacer in, put the bits back on here. So we'll call that it for the week. I'll order that O-ring separately. So what we're going to do next is we're going to put the pistons on and the barrel on. And that way it actually sort of closes up the top end of the engine. Then we'll put the clutch on, primary drive chain, there's an oil pipe that goes, no, I think the oil pipe goes the other side, there's an internal oil pipe. So we'll get all that done. I got my 5mm screw for in there, so that's all ready. And let's say we'll leave that for next week. So until then, enjoy yourselves.